favorite things to do is to interview people who are thought leaders for the industry as a whole, who are sacrificial in terms of the time. This is one of the people. Wayne Bishop is one of the people. I think you're my favorite interviewee, Wayne.
Alan,
Wayne,
you're too kind.
no. So Wayne gives a lot of his time and energy to IEEE PES. He is in charge of meetings and conferences, and you have been a global traveler, even in the midst of COVID, I know. But talk a little bit about what you're doing within IEEE PES and your role, because you have to make a living, right? You have to work at some time.
That's right. That's right. So, Alan, thanks very much. It's always great to see you and to have these chats with you. As mentioned, I'm Vice President of Meetings and Conferences for IEEE PES, but that is a volunteer job. My day job is I work for a wonderful corporation called Quanta Technology. They're part of Quanta Services, and I currently serve as the Senior Director of Industry Outreach. And it's a nice synergy between Quanta Technology and IEEE PES. Our founder, Damir Novosil, of Quanta Technology, was a former IEEE PES president and still is very active with IEEE. So he's been very supportive of me with the various travels that I do. Last week I was in Singapore for IEEE ISGT Asia. Last month I was in Serbia to attend ISGT Europe, and I was at PowerCon in Malaysia back in September. But lots happening in our industry, Alan, as you know, and I think that's what makes it so exciting.
So part of what we're doing here, we've talked about right before we came on here, is we're going to do something. Where in the world is Wayne? And then we'll find out when you're in one of those places. I want to do an interview. But today we've got something important to talk about. Next year, 2023, is the 100th anniversary of the country Turkey. It is right in the middle, the gateway to Asia, the gateway to the Middle East, and the gateway to Europe. A very important country. You introduced me to some folks from there who are putting on a conference. Since you're in charge of meetings and conferences, you introduced me to several people, and we made a commitment to do interviews like this at the, now get these acronyms, IEEE PES T&D Conference and Expo in Istanbul. Talk a little bit about how the conference came to be.
Sure. So, Alan, this event was originally modeled after our flagship event, which is the IEEE T&D show. As you know, it's held every other year. It's been held for more than 50 years now in the United States, and a lot of our international members from IEEE PES said, hey, could you hold this event regionally? So back in 2019, we launched the very first GT&D, and I'll get into the G in a moment, but it was held in Bangkok, Thailand. A huge success, well over 12,000 people attended. And the plan was to hold the event again in 2021 in Istanbul, Turkey. Well, the world came to a stop, as we know, because of COVID. So we had to postpone it until 2023, and that will be the event next year. Now, where we came up with the G is G for generation. So generation, transmission, and distribution. There's so much happening these days, as you know, with generation, from offshore wind to solar to all the DERs to all of the different types of generation being discussed. Even the idea of accepting nuclear, that was discussed last week when I was in Singapore, that has to somehow be part of the mix. We really can't have 100% renewables. So yeah, this event will be held next year. It's May 22nd to the 25th in very historic Istanbul, Turkey. It's a great city, an easy city to get in and out of. It'll be very much an international event, but as you said, Alan, Istanbul in Turkey is the gateway to Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. And we do expect quite a few attendees to go over from the United States too. You and I will be there, I'm sure.
Yep, we're going to be doing interviews there. So I want you to focus on, because when you do a conference and expo like that, you have two reasons for people to attend. One of them is the people that come and they show their wares. They come to the expo, they get a booth, they speak, they become part of their. If I were somebody that were considering an exposition, why should I come to the GT&D in Istanbul?
Okay, so if you are considering being an exhibitor, it's a great show to be at because many of the thought leaders from our industry will be at the event as attendees. So you'll be able to get your various products and services in front of probably close to 10,000 attendees. And these will be from all over the world. And with all of the changes happening right now in our industry, it's now important more than ever before to get the suppliers, to have them there with their products and services. It'll be a full-blown expo. We're really taking a page right out of the playbook from T&D, and so the expo floor will look very much like that, with innovation stages. There'll even be a Smart Cities Pavilion, an IEEE
Excellent.
Smart Cities Pavilion as part of it.
That's excellent. So there's so much going on in the world, in our industry, and if you wait every 2 years, you're going to miss a lot. And there is a lot going on. I'm glad you put the G. I always thought you should put an N in front of the G, like new generation, because everybody thinks of generation as these big plants that they're coal fired, et cetera. Generation is changing rapidly to be able to make smart cities. So that works. Where I want to switch gears a little bit. Now, you've just talked about why we ought to come as an expo. I agree with you. It's a great place to show your wares and to, as John McDonald said of IEEE and General Electric, he said the value of learning what all of the exposition people have brought to the market, that's where the new technology is being developed and shown. So that's a reason to come. You'll be able to introduce your technology or the changes that you're taking to the marketplace. But there's another one. You said up to 10,000 people or so. Why should I come and attend this conference?
Yeah, so there will be probably some of the most leading speakers, thought leaders about what's happening in our industry. So if you think about it, all the changes that are happening, everything from microgrids to energy storage to the offshore wind, solar, the whole idea of this race to net zero. How are we going to do it? How are we going to realize decarbonization as an industry? And it's all about learning from each other. You know what I mean? One utility can't do this alone. We need to learn from each other on how to do it, best practices, lessons learned. There'll be really mostly panels given, so which I happen to like because that's where the Q&A comes
Yeah.
in. So you as an attendee will be able to stand up, ask a question, interact with these thought leaders. And so that's why as an attendee, yeah, it'll definitely be worth your while to attend. It'll be a very reasonable registration fee, especially if you're an IEEE PES member. There'll be plenty of times to network and just plenty of time even to see the show floor.
And what's something that we talk about the event itself, right? Coming to the Expo Center. But it's being held in Istanbul, which is an amazing city. I mean, it is, I don't think people realize just how incredible it is from a tourism perspective. There's so much to see. This is where East meets West. It's a brilliant place to come and spend time. And then the time that you spend at the expo, of course, will be valuable. But perfect. This is why we both think that it's very important. And by the way, we'll be there. So
Okay,
if you
great.
do come, shake our hands and come and say hi.
And
This
yeah,
has
and I
been an
look forward to
AP.
seeing you too, Alan, next May 22nd to the 25th in Istanbul.
I'll see you at the grid edge before then, my friend.
Yes.
This has been an APC media production. Thank you for joining me, Wayne.